All right. So to begin today's webinar, I'd like to welcome Vaughn Taylor, Vice President of Economic Development for the Seattle Metro Chamber of Commerce. Vaughn will start us off with a program level set, establishing goals and providing additional context. Later, we'll hear from the Inclusive Data team, who will walk us through eligibility criteria, expectations, key dates, and tips for a stronger proposal. There'll be an opportunity for question and answers at the end. Vaughn, welcome.
Thank you, Shoshana. First, I'll just start to talk about the role of the chamber and also how other partners are involved in this process. So the Seattle FIFA World Cup 26 Local Organizing Committee, referred to as the LOC, is a 501c organization. They partner with the Seattle Metro Chamber to serve as a statewide business liaison leading up to the tournament. The Seattle Metro Chamber's activities are part of the local organizing committee's small business initiative. So in the chamber's role, we convene the small business community as well as the chambers through communications and organizing advisory groups. Second, we host monthly World Cup ready webinars with statewide online access for a range of different topics. And lastly, we will release a small business mega event playbook that shares guidance, case studies, and strategies to help small businesses benefit from the World Cup's economic development activity and sustain its operations for future mega events. King County Council also allocated funding to the Seattle Metro Chamber to help our business community get World Cup ready. So for King County communities outside of Seattle, we will offer business district grants and organize special projects through the Chamber's award-winning Community Business Connector program. The Chamber also hired Inclusive Data Solutions, who you'll hear from momentarily, to manage and co-manage the competitive and community input process for selecting and funding small business, the district activation grants, and also, and this is in King County, and also the statewide Small Business Megaevent Playbook. So now I'd like to welcome our speakers from Inclusive Data, Felix Reyes and Vicky Tamaru, to walk us through the RFP application process. Dr. Sean Glaze and Eric Glaze will facilitate the Q&A at the end. Inclusive Data.
Hello, hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can y'all hear me okay?
You can.
Awesome. Thanks, Vaughn. This is Dr. Sean Glaze. I'm trying to make sure that you can hear me and see me, but it looks like my camera won't cooperate. That's okay. I am joined here by Felix and Vicky, as well as Eric, and we're going to talk y'all through this RFP. One of the things that we know is that this might be folks' first time during doing this, and so we want to be thoughtful about that, and we're going to try to make this as painless as possible. We have some slides that we are sharing here, and we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks, Eric. Awesome. So y'all have already heard a little bit about the project background. One of the biggest things to know is that this is a project that is really rooted in community input. So we're about making sure that there are more support for small businesses beyond the stadium zone where the activities will be happening for World Cup. We want to make sure that businesses statewide have practical tools and guidance, and that we're really thinking about long-term readiness so that future large-scale events can be a time where small businesses really thrive. One of the key deliverables for this project is the statewide Small Business Megaevent Playbook, which is basically a resource to help these small businesses prepare, adapt, and thrive during major events. Next slide. Great. So a couple key takeaways. We're going to learn the when and the how as it relates to applying for this opportunity. Then we're going to do an overview of the process. We're going to learn the details about eligibility. how we'll evaluate proposals, how we'll score them, and what that process will look like. Then we're going to review some of the milestone dates. I'm going to encourage you to write those dates down in your calendar. And then we'll do that Q&A, which will facilitate. And definitely, as you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. That will make it easier for us to kick off the Q&A smoothly. Let's go ahead and get started. First of all, how and when? This is fairly easy. The RFP will be opening soon in just a week on June 10th, and it'll stay open until the 1st of July. You'll be able to apply via the Chamber's website. The platform we're using is called Submittable. It is a great way to be able to work on your proposal early and over time. So some of you will get started on that first day, June 10th. And you'll just keep making progress. I'm going to encourage y'all not to wait to the last minute to apply. That's one of the most common mistakes that are made. And yes, we'll go ahead and keep moving forward. The whole process of developing this RFP has been very collaborative. We have been having listening sessions. We have a special progressive survey where you can essentially call in or video in or write in your ideas around how to develop this RFP. We've also been having open office hours on Fridays where you can snack and chat with us, give us your ideas on how scoring should go, or ideas of what are some of the priority languages, or phrases we should use in this process. So it has been a lot of listening. It has also been a lot of support. So it's been fantastic. The Seattle Metro Chambers Advisory Group has also been involved in this process from the beginning. So in many ways, this is not your typical process where someone comes up with an idea and throws it out there. We have been engaging a lot with the small business community and the economic development community as well to create this RFP. Next, I want to share with y'all a little bit about the RFP and what are some of those minimum qualifications. So this is the part to lean in closely in for those of you who are interested in applying. We really want to make sure that every single person that submits an application, every single organization, every single team that submits an application has at least these 5 core pieces: experience serving underserved businesses, experience doing content development for public use. So it means you've developed content for, regular folks, the public. Number 3, project management and delivery capacity. So we want to make sure that you have experience managing projects, experience delivering high quality work, experience doing regional and place-based work. So thinking about what works where. And then lastly, staffing and operational infrastructure. There are some details around these that we'll get into, and if we don't go into enough details, save it for the Q&A. The next slide here brings us to the evaluation criteria and scoring. So now that I've told you a little bit about the minimum qualifications, we know that we're going to need at least to have those things on lock. And again, we'll talk about some details during Q&A, but essentially looking for teams that really have that expertise. Let me tell you how we're going to go about scoring. There's going to be a multidisciplinary chamber panel that'll evaluate proposals using a scoring rubric and comparative analysis framework. What does that mean? Basically, imagine any kind of major sporting event, like say the World Cup, where you have many fantastic teams competing on a world stage. We are going to go through a process where we compare those proposals to each other, and essentially we'll create something that looks a lot like brackets to find the best team. And the best team will be the one that goes forward and creates this playbook. To score this process, our teams will be looking at a maximum of 100 points that they could earn on their proposals. And they'll be evaluated on their technical proposal, their management proposal, and their cost proposal. The technical proposal is going to be around, like looking at your things like your work samples and like how you actually do the work in terms of the content delivery, and learning more about how you're proposing to work with or incorporate underserved businesses and really highlight that expertise, that you bring. The management proposal is going to be more like who's managing this project and what does that look like. So tell us about your team, tell us about their expertise, tell us about your project management. And the cost proposal is going to be your budget justification, and the story you use to tell, why your team is the best for it. We'll dive into this more in the next few slides. The evaluation procedure. So how do we get from those scores, up to 100 points to the winning team? Well, we have 4 phases. The first phase is, are you responsive? Are you eligible? Do you meet the requirements, essentially? We know that when we're talking about responsiveness and eligibility screening, we're going to be looking at how much experience the teams have that are proposing. We're going to be thinking through if you've completed everything that was out there. So, you have to upload your proposal. Did you upload your proposal? You have to, check the eligibility screening quiz. Did you complete that? Those are the kinds of things that's phase 1. And I anticipate that most folks that are attending an event like this, where you're learning how to get ready and apply, are going to do just fine on the phase 1 responsiveness and eligibility screening. Phase 2 is where that bracket approach comes in, that competitive team assessment. We're going to be looking at team versus team, and continuing to make those paired comparisons until we come up with our top 3. At that point, if it's a close match, we may do interviews or even have the teams do a special presentation so that we can get more information, which is the best developing this mega book. And then lastly, we get to phase 4, which is final selection. And what that's like is the team has won. Now we're going to be doing contract negotiation. It is a fairly forward process, but they want to make sure that the best team wins. There's a lot of work that goes into making sure each proposal is evaluated so that we can have a great outcome. Just do a quick audio check.
I think your audio is better now. Maybe got choppy for a second there.
Okay, great. Thank you. Great. I'm ready for the next slide. Great. So we talked about evaluation procedures. Let's talk about milestone dates. When is the RFP open? Thanks, Dan. The RFP opens 10th and it will be open until July 1st. Then we're going to be looking at score and review through August. We see happening in August 19th. Then have the playbook outline due September 2nd.
Let me go ahead and stop you, Sean. Dr. G, it looks like your audio is cutting out a bit. I'll go ahead and go over this next part. So as far as the important dates and milestones, as Dr. G was saying, June 10th through July 1st is going to be, the period of time that the RFP is actually open during. You want to make sure that, you are preparing ahead of time if you can, and then, submit before or on July 1st. And then the proposal scoring and review will be from the 1st to August 5th. And then the final vendor announcement will be on August 19th. From there, we anticipate the playbooks, outline, the initial outline is going to be due on September 2nd. And we'll have preview drafts due by October 1st, with the full draft due by November 3rd. And then the final playbook will be on November 10th. And then if you have any questions about any of these dates or any of these important milestones, please make sure you put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A section of the Zoom. And then from here, we'll go ahead and go over to our next slide, where we get into the actual Q&A. Please ask, any question that you may have, anything you're wondering about, whether it pertains to the RFP, the timeline, or any of the requirements that we've described. And then we'll go from there. I'll go ahead and pass it back to our host.
How's my audio now?
Better.
Is it still choppy?
Oh, yes.
A little bit.
Okay. Try more things.
There's a question. When you say teams, do we have to submit in partnership with another firm? Is there an MWBE goal?
Excellent question. I think I'll go ahead and take the first stab at that. You are not required to work with external organizations. If your organization is able to fulfill all the requirements within itself, then that's perfectly fine. We would consider that as your team. We don't anticipate every organization will be able to meet all of the requirements by itself. So some people might want to form partnerships with other organizations, collaborations, etc., to fulfill all of the minimum requirements as well as the different dynamics of the RFP itself.
Does anyone else have a question they want to put in the question and answer? Oh, here we go. How exactly are you engaging with the minority business community? A lot of the major organizations have not heard of there being opportunities.
I can help with that question. So, at the Seattle Metro Chamber, as mentioned in our presentation here today, we're the statewide business liaison um, for the event. But simply, that's our role is more of the convening of business community and chambers around the information that supports the event at a community level. And the LOC itself is not participating in any direct, I would say, vendor opportunities. But for more information about where those opportunities can be found or learn more about it, we can share the LOC's website in the chat today.
Thank you. Next question. Is there a budget given within the RFP?
Yes, absolutely. There's a budget range given. There's also a budget template that is provided to people so that they can more easily have a consistent way of reporting out how they would intend to break out their budget and how they'll justify it. The template is optional, however. So if you have a different tool you want to use to display how you would approach that budget, that is up to you as a proposing team. And yes, there is a specific budget amount that will be posted in the RFP as well. And there'll be support so that you can show how you would approach spending it.
Thank you. What all services are needed? A lot of us have not heard about this needs for the event.
When you say services needed, do you mean to satisfy the requirements for this contract, which are really about developing the playbook? Or do you mean the services that, say, the small businesses who use the playbook might have in order to participate in this mega event?
I'm going to anticipate that it is the latter because we have been doing a lot of conversations and listening sessions. So this sounds like something maybe that might be addressed by the LOC. Is that correct, Vaughn?
That is correct. There are a few opportunities or vendor opportunities through LOC, but that's limited and not the breadth of what in terms of like filling the needs for the actual tournament itself, which mostly is outside of the scope of the LOC and of course and obviously outside the scope of the Seattle Metro Chamber. But again, we will put the LOC's website there so you can see more about those opportunities.
Thank you. Is there a stated preference to engage vendors local to Seattle and King County?
This is a great question. There has certainly been a lot of interest in what kind of geographical requirements are there for this. There are no requirements in terms of location of the vendor. So there are a couple of other questions around this. So you don't need to necessarily be located in any specific geography to apply. However, when we look more deeply minimum requirements are a couple of things to really highlight.
Oops. Dr. G, your audio is choppy again.
Got it. I apologize. I'm not really sure. Oh, I have some. I can switch to an audio. I think I'll do
Okay, thank you.
that. Like, get this situation.
Sorry about this, folks. Technology. You just never know. Dr. G is in Seattle, so we would hope that we would have a good connection. But maybe it's weather.
And Vicky, if you could just repeat that
Mhm.
question and
Yeah,
maybe answer that a bit until Dr. G returns and continue with other
perfect.
questions.
Thank you. Is there a stated preference to engage vendors local to Seattle and King County?
Yeah, so the short answer is yes, but again, with the team approach, there are opportunities where there may be some supporting organizations that can help give guidance to the design of the playbook. But even if that's not the case, in terms of, let's say there's a vendor or contract selected outside of the state, we will have a local advisor group kind of following the path of the development of the and design of the playbook. So not to worry if that question is from someone that's outside of the state.
Thank you, Vaughn. Next question. When you think about how this playbook will be used post-event, can you give a couple of more sentences on what they could look like to you?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I thought maybe someone would have responded to that. Yes.
Sorry. So, okay, when you think about how this playbook will be used post-event, can you give me a couple more sentences on what they could look like to you? So maybe specifically talking about supporting not just World Cup, but other mega events across the state.
Sure. So one of the things we learned during our own experience, if this for we had the MLB All-Star game here, and there were maybe missed opportunities there where the business community felt they could have been more integrated with, I would say, the event itself and all the visitors who participated in the All-Star game and the festivities. So I think having a tool such as this um, is is supplemental to what business owners know to do in terms of how they do their business, but also it helps chambers like ours, service providers, concerned citizens, residents, if you will, to also have something to help business owners to kind of hold their hand through the process and encourage them to participate. Information is one key element of this. So the playbook itself will just raise awareness and more enthusiasm around World Cup. The second part would be, any event that comes to town, whether that's a Taylor Swift concert or any other large scale event, or even the unfortunate weather disasters. So is how do businesses sustain their operations, not only just for the sake of business retention, but how do they kind of, if you will, just be prepared for any new situations within their community, like these mega events that we are describing.
Thank you. Dr. G, are you back? Want to test your audio? You're on mute, Joe.
Testing, testing.
Hello.
Hello, is this better?
Yes, I think
Yes.
so.
Okay. Goodness gracious. Okay, great. I've been listening in. Are there any other questions you want to cover?
Yes, I'll keep going. Can you share a bit more about the content objectives for the playbook? For instance, is the intent to provide businesses with operational tools, i.e., security, staffing, merchandising, marketing, etc., or all of the above?
I can take this, and then if there's anything else that the team would like to present, we can. I think it's really important that when y'all are creating a proposal, you spell this out as best as you can. how your team in particular is going to approach that. I anticipate that some of the strongest proposals are going to speak to what really lean on your expertise working with underserved businesses, working on content delivery for public use, and really understanding the landscape. So even if the RFP does not, even if your proposal doesn't go into excruciating detail on those topics, I still would encourage folks to really show as much as they can how their team would approach this. Some teams, I believe, will approach this in a way that's going to be a little bit more, say, ground up, and are going to be relying a lot on like advisories and like the different small businesses like directly to give them the information in order to execute this playbook. Other teams are going to be relying on expertise they already have doing this work over and over again, and really letting that be their first step. Each proposal is going to be different. Neither approach is stronger than the other per se, but the best teams will be the ones that do a good job of really showing as well as telling how they would approach this. So I would anticipate that quite a few proposals will show like, here are, a few of the key types of businesses we are imagining we're going to support. And we are using our information from, doing this work over and over again to really highlight these key industries, or we're using our research on the space to see what those key industries are. Maybe they'll even look at what some other cities have done in terms of playbooks and use those as their guideline. Whatever the approach is, the best teams are typically the ones that do a really good job of both showing as well as telling throughout their proposal. They're going to show us work samples that are indicative of the caliber of work that they can put together. They're going to maybe show us similar projects that they've worked on before. Here's a playbook that we developed for a different event like this. And they'll also tell us and here's exactly the steps we took to create that. So it's not the case that the RFP part requires y'all to highlight specific industries. However, once it's time to do the work, you are going to be expected to rely on a mix of, expertise to deliver a high quality product that'll really support the small businesses and, during and beyond the mega event. Dean, is there anything else you want to add to provide to folks, any guidance or support?
Vaughn has his hand up.
Sure, thank you, Vicki. And to add to Dr. Glaz's points about what substantive information we're looking for and the expertise for someone to actually design a playbook. Just want everyone to keep in mind that the playbook, the audience is the small business owner. And yes, while it'll be extension of our service providers that's providing business support, substantive information is just as important as it being user friendly. So just want to make that the comment. Thank you, Dr. Blaze.
Great. I'll move on to the next
Thanks, Vaughn.
question. Will the selection criteria include a focus on how knowledgeable the team is on specific ways that small businesses can participate in the large events, or can the team contract out for that?
Great question. I think we actually have a slide that speaks to this part well. So I'll see if the team wants to queue one up. But in general, I think y'all may have picked up we're using the word team a lot. A team may be a single firm that does all of the things independently, and they have different folks that they maybe are W-2s, perhaps they're 1099s, that provide that service, but it's primarily a single firm that does it. A team may be a collaboration of multiple firms coming together to do this, whether it's a subcontracting relationship or some other kind of formed partnership where people come together to do it. Both of those are acceptable and what we mean by team. So it's certainly acceptable to form partnerships in ways that allow you to put together the best team. We are going to be comparing each team to each other. So what that means is, as we look at the proposals and as we score them, we're going to be sort of treating it like any kind of major competition where you have a team versus another team, and making comparisons that way. So there's no priority of one over the other. When we say team, it could be a formed partnership, sub relationships, or it could be just like a single entity.
So, Dr. G, we're not quite sure which slide you're meaning, but we're going to try to bring up the evaluation criteria slide in a moment. We'll just move on to the next question since it's not really replacing anything specific. Okay, so this RFP is solely for businesses that want to create the playbook, which would be for marketing firms or PR or communication firms, question mark?
Say again, sorry.
I think what they're asking is this RFP specifically aimed towards marketing firms, PR, communications firms?
It is not specifically just for those firms, although I imagine some of those firms will apply either independently or as part of a team. I think that this slide here may be helpful because a lot of what we're getting into would be covered in the section we call the technical proposal. So the technical proposal part of the process is about the approach, the project understanding, the content. It's also about things like work plan and timeline, as well as cultural relevance, equity, and access. And as you can see here, we have a total of 50 points out of that 100 is the technical proposal. What we're looking for, regardless of what kind of firm or firms come together to create a team, we're looking for the depth of understanding of the RFP's goals. We are looking for people, for teams to speak to that equity-driven event readiness for mega events. So we're thinking a lot about how their strategies that are being submitted in those proposals really will help deliver a high-quality playbook that is responsive, it's culturally grounded, and it's practically useful to those small and BIPOC-owned businesses, similar to those in Washington State. So if you have experience in Washington State, great, speak to that. If you have experience in a place that is similar to those businesses that are in Washington State, we would love to see folks speak to that. And you don't have to be a marketing firm or a PR firm or communications firm in order to be able to speak to these points well. It is, an open process, but this is a piece of it. Similarly, we want to see high quality content. We want to see content that's relevant, inclusive, and well designed for public facing use. A great team is able to really speak to that and submit work samples that can really show that. Last few points on your technical proposal really have to do with your ability to really speak to that work plan, and your ability to meet those key milestones, and your ability to deliver equitable outcomes as it relates to the process throughout. So to concretely reiterate the answer to the question, no, you do not have to be a communications or any specific kind of team. However, you do have to be able to do all of these things well to be selected as the winner for this RFP process.
Felix or Dr. G, do you want to speak to the RFP process that we are now in, where we still have one more snack and chat and the progressive survey still open?
Sure. So where we're at now is we have drafted what we may consider to be essentially like a near final draft of the RFP. But there's still one more opportunity to be able to influence this process between now and the end of this week. And that is this Q&A process that we're engaging in right here and now. as well as questions that you may have that come up after this Q&A or you feel like weren't adequately covered. You can send an email and we'll capture that, and we'll compile all the questions into and their answers into a document and have that contribute to the RFP as well. Similarly, on Friday, we'll have our very last for this part of the process, snack and chat, which is when you join us, please, over lunch hour on Zoom, and you give us your thoughts, your reflections, your feedback, your questions. And if there's anything that is shared that would substantively change the RFP, it gives us a chance to kind of hear those things out, discuss it with advisory, and potentially make any adjustments that we might need to make for the RFP. So thankfully, a lot of people had given us such beautiful feedback before this. But if this is your first time hearing or having an opportunity to engage, you do have one more opportunity to influence this process or to ask a question that is top of mind for you.
Thank you. Vaughn, you have your hand up.
Yes, thanks, Vicky. Just quick note for those different time zones, that would be 12 noon Pacific time, and also we encourage any subject matter experts in this work to actually join and participate if you're available and interested. Thank you.
And I just want to quickly add that, oh, I'm sorry.
No, just saying thanks. Go ahead, Vicki.
I just wanted to quickly add that part of the process is part of Seattle Metro Chamber of Commerce's process for ensuring that this RFP specifically is inclusive. They've done a lot of work to invite organizations across the state to be involved in rural areas of the state, even outside of King County, as well as focusing on the small business support organizations, so that they can make sure that their businesses are reflected in the RFP. Dr. G, do you want to add something else?
No, I think you've covered that very well. Thanks, Vicki.
Thank you. Okay. We've got about 18 more minutes left and a few more questions, so let's keep going. How detailed would the playbook likely be? For example, will it include estimated costs if a business wants to host small events and show the FIFA 2026 matches? Vaughn, I feel like that is the branding question and the hosting question. Do you want to answer that?
Yes, good question. So one thing I should note for this region and for those outside the state, there are actually 3 different playbooks being designed and released. One, as you were all talking about today, the Small Business Megaevent Playbook, that's one. 2, one about the actual hosting a watch party. So these are official parties to FIFA. That's another and totally different and separate playbook altogether. And thirdly, one around marketing about the region and things of that sort. So the 3 partners involved is the Chamber, Seattle Metro Chamber, for the Mega Event Playbook for small businesses. Second around watch parties is Seattle Sports Commission. And then thirdly, around the marketing and everything else you can think about in terms of tourism, that would be Visit Seattle and that group. So hopefully that clarifies. But that is one thing. The second, to answer the question, as Dr. Glazes mentioned, each proposal will be different. But if there is any best practice around, let's say, creating World Cup themed events or festivals or the like, that's just building more just enthusiasm and awareness about the event, kind of like stress test the community, if you will, about having a lot of visitors, certainly a lot of visitors from different countries. Those are welcome. Again, the playbook will have different proposals, but it's about case studies, it's about best practice and any other customized tools and information that we can center towards how to prepare businesses for mega events. So in short, all is welcome.
One more question for you, Vaughn. Do you want to mention the World Cup Ready webinars that the Chamber is holding?
Yes. So in closing this call, I was going to mention that one of our activities in the way of communications will have a World Cup ready webinars on a monthly basis. Again, about, as I mentioned in my presentation, about the just relevant topics relating to World Cup or just anything that can help the business community be more prepared and engage with this kind of like once in a generation sort of event. So that's going to happen monthly through and leading up to the tournament. And also we'll release a brand, a World Cup ready brand, along with a website where you can get up-to-date information. And you'll hear more about that soon if you visit the seattlechamber.com website. And we'll follow up from this list today to give you more information.
I think you're up again, Vaughn, with this question. Are there specific funding streams for culturally specific outreach and technical assistance, especially African immigrant refugee communities, both small businesses and community at large, to be a part of such a historic global event?
Okay, I'm imagining that group is from someone local. I imagine again, maybe King County. So I'll speak to King County. So um, there, there may be, but again, in two ways. One, as I mentioned, the business district activation. So we'll work a lot with our city partners in regards to that and what that application will look like. At minimum, we'll be looking for a diverse group of advisors to kind of shape that application process. So that's one. And second, we're already working with a group of organizations deeply rooted in community, trusted advisors through our Community Business Connector program, and they will facilitate much of the outreach in King County outside of Seattle. We're doing other things with City of Seattle in terms of the business districts, things like that. But hopefully that answers the question. So there's no additional, to answer your question directly, there's no additional funding or grant opportunity for cultural community outreach.
The next several questions actually are not related to the RFP, so maybe I'll kind of move down towards ones that are more specific to this, and we can get back to the other questions if we have time. Where can we access the Small Business Mega Event Playbook and templates?
The playbook itself.
Yes, I think.
Oh, so that would be, as mentioned in the presentation, we'll have a progressive like release of the playbook through, I guess, around Q3 or Q4 this year. From October, November, and December, we'll have another event. We won't talk about that today. But yes, we'll have that on our World Cup Ready website, our chamber website, and I imagine we'll have places where we will share it to our business community via our normal outreach efforts and network.
Great. Are there similar playbooks from other U.S. cities, events that are good examples of this work?
That will be discovered during when the contractor is selected. They will do that preliminary research, bring that back to us in advisory groups to discuss that. But for any of the subject matter experts in the Zoom today, you're probably familiar with a few that you've seen over the years. One that comes to mind is the International Economic Development Playbook around obviously economic development and the metrics that communities and service providers can gather for different types and elements of economic development. And I'm sure there are others out there that will be discovered during this process.
Anyone else want to add anything? Okay, move on to the next question then. Is disaster preparedness element something we should be prepared to include in our proposal?
Yes, but I would say the focus is obviously for World Cup and any like mega events first and foremost. And the idea is that this this product or tool statewide is sort of evergreen and will be refreshed every year. If there's a consensus that this is a need in our state. So I would say yes, but I will say it was at high priority compared to being prepared for the enthusiasm around World Cup and any other large scale exciting event like a concert and the like, sporting event and so on.
Okay. How can a new small business owner participate in the process if they don't have previous work completed? How can they be engaged in the process?
I guess the question is asking how can a business owner provide input to the process?
I think it's both. So I think that maybe the first part of it might be team related, and the second might would be more included in the playbook information potentially.
Yeah, at the moment we do have a list of I would say business community, I would say organizations that serve business community to provide guidance on the development of the playbook, input, and so on. If the person asking this question has a network of business owners that they can help us organize effectively and easily for this process within the timeline that we have to complete it, happy to work with you one-on-one. So feel free to reach out to me directly.
Dr. G, do you want to address the team part of it?
I'm trying to find this question on the FAQ.
It's
There's so many.
anonymous attendee towards the bottom. It's done twice,
Okay.
actually. Yeah. How can new small business owners participate in the process if they don't have previous work completed?
Oh, got it.
Mhm.
There's two different processes here that I want to make sure we speak to. One is between now and essentially the snack and chat is a great opportunity if you have any ideas that you would like to make sure the team gets to hear about before we finalize this RFP. That would be great. For sure, want to make sure that's really clear. Outside of that, though, like once this thing launches next week, essentially what I imagine will happen is that some of the newer small businesses that don't have, years of experience doing this kind of work but who still have, great ideas and maybe experience doing related work, will find a team, become part of a team, join a team, create a team, approach folks who are doing work that you really admire, and really think critically around like how to create that strong team proposal. So I really know, our business is only 5 years old, and I remember when we were getting started, it was always a struggle to figure out the answer to this exact question: how can small businesses participate? And what we were told time and time again was it's really important to have a team approach and really think about, partnerships and what that could look like. And in our first couple of years, that looked different ways. Sometimes we were a sub-consultant, sometimes we were a prime, and a more experienced organization was the sub. Both of those approaches can work really well. We also had, we've seen people come together and create cooperatives and go after RFPs like this in the future. So there are different ways that people approach it. And there's no one way that's better than another. It's really important, though, as a small business, that you make sure if you do decide you're going to go for this opportunity and you don't quite meet the requirements, don't waste your time and don't waste our time. So like if we're looking for, people who have years of experience doing something, but your business doesn't quite meet that year requirement and you've decided you're not going to, look at growing your team out, joining someone's team, creating a team, please don't submit a proposal that would not be eligible. What we do want to see is people really thinking carefully around like what they can bring to the table and creating the best team possible to create the best product possible for that small business mega event playbook.
Thank you. Vaughn, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Vicky. And one thing I forgot to mention, and especially this is relevant to our local community, meaning King County specifically, is that the chamber itself, as I mentioned, we rolled out, along with other partners in our region, to roll out a community business connector program where we reached over 2,000 businesses and had a lot of lessons learned during that process. And I'm sure some of our outreach partners are on this call today. But I'm mentioning that to say that we're taking that lens of what we've learned over the years during the height of COVID, coming out of that pandemic, and also doing our own kind of like self-evaluation of how we can reach small business better, especially those who have barriers from linguistic, cultural, and geographical sort of barriers. So just wanted to let everyone know that this process wasn't created, designed in a vacuum. We took lessons learned, and one of the reasons it attracted the local organizing committee to work with us because of the work we've done on the ground with our partners collectively to seek impact. So just wanted to make sure that was kind of elevated, especially for those in our region.
Thank you, Vaughn. Shoshana, we've got about 4 minutes left, and there's still some questions. Did you want to offer opportunities for us to respond to some of these questions?
Yeah, I think it would be great if folks would like to stay on after the 12 o'clock end time so we can answer a couple more questions. But I think now, to respect the time of those that do have to drop at exactly 12, Vaughn, it would be great for you to just do your close-in and next steps. And then after that, we can continue to answer questions for the next 10, 15 minutes.
Sure. Thank you, Shoshana. Well, first, I want to thank all of you for attending, taking the time out to get a sneak peek of what we're doing in our region to help small business be ready for World Cup and beyond. And also just thank Inclusive Data for their expertise in managing this process, thanking, of course, Vicky, Felix, Dr. Sean, and Eric. So again, to recap, how do you access the RFP that will be released on June 10th? And we'll have different places where you can find it: Chamber's website, World Cup Ready website, if that's launched at that time. And also Inclusive Data will find ways to get it out into our region and also nationally. And for more, if you had more questions about the process, the RFP itself, you can email Inclusive Data at SMCOC, that's Seattle Metro Chamber of Commerce, at inclusivedatasolutions.com. And also, we just encourage you to send this RFP opportunity out to people in your network so that we can find the best team to design the playbook for our state. Now, as a reminder to the attendees, this webinar will be recorded, and we'll post this on our event registration page and on our Chamber YouTube channel by tomorrow if you want to re-watch it and share. So with that, for those who are, thanks for joining us. For those who need to go, for those who have a few more questions, we have just a few minutes where we can give you our time and attention.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, I'll keep going with these questions. I think we can stay on for another 15 minutes. And of course, you can email us, as well as we will be sending out some of this information via our FAQ. So let's see, will the Small Business Mega Event Playbook be translated into most commonly spoken languages in Seattle and the surrounding region to ensure equitable access for immigrant and refugee-owned businesses?
I can help with that question. So we are asking the consultant selected to create a short video to just give an overview to navigate the tool itself, and we can give guidance once we get to that point. But the actual tool itself will not be translated into the languages by the chamber, but the LOC has expressed that they have some key or I guess popular languages that they've learned, that they've discovered through their outreach that they should that they will want to translate the document itself. So again, this was a physical document in English, some sort of short video to navigate. Then the LOC will take the tool from there to see if there's any other further translations that's appropriate for their outreach. I think you're on mute, Vicky.
I pressed the button and it didn't go. Thanks. Next question is, are all 3 playbooks planned to be resources for all communities statewide?
Not to speak for the other groups, but I imagine so if it's a publicly shared document. So that would be my answer to that.
Great. Are there plans to address concerns around travel, considering the actions of federal agencies to limit, track, and prosecute travel domestically and internationally?
That won't be addressed in our playbook and not in the scope of the Seattle Metro Chamber. But if that's a issue or concern to the person posing that question, I would say reach out to the local organized committee. Maybe they can point you in the right direction.
Thank you. What are the plans for providing translation on the website? Also interpretation, ASL, Braille, and other language support. So this is for the event specifically. So we address some of the languages. We're still up in the air in terms of the languages that will be supported in the playbook based on what the LOC is able to support. But as far as the support for events, is that also an LOC question, or?
Actually, that might even be above the LOC in terms of that question. It might be a FIFA question. So one thing I can just say, just speaking to our community, both regionally and statewide, one thing I would just say, I would say you should be proud of your community stakeholders, leaders, and people like yourself for participating in this process. We're probably one of not the only host city that's really rolling out a statewide effort, keeping culture, community in mind, underrepresented groups, and everyone in between, so they can be a part of the impact of this event. So I would say while we might not get all of it right, but I would say we're taking our level best and to do what's right for our region and bringing in people like yourself to guide that process. So I would say definitely just center that for a moment, just to say if some of those things are missed in this process, it's still overwhelmingly and incredible initiative for the LOC to launch and for us to be a part of, and you be a part of it along the way. So.
And is it correct that the LOC is a 501c3?
That is correct.
And that's not funded by FIFA, is that correct?
That I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. How can small African immigrant-led consulting firms with deep community roots in Seattle and King County become sub-consultants or strategic partners in World Cup related projects, specifically in areas like community engagement, cultural outreach, and equity-focused programming?
So again, I think our answer to question is similar to this. There will be opportunities in King County for business district activations. That process will begin, the application process will begin after the Playbook RFP is released. So if you're in King County, look out for that if you're interested to apply, and if you're connected to the chamber anyway or want to participate in the advisory process, you can also participate in that. And that does not mean that you're ineligible for applying for any other business district grant applications in King County. Outside of the state, outside of King County, I should mention, for those who are not aware, the LOC has designated 9 different fan zones across the state, and there will be some opportunities there. And again, wanted to redirect folks back to the LOC for more information and resources.
Thank you. And the very last question, which should be pretty easy. What does LOC stand for?
Local Organizing Committee. They are, again, a 501, to repeat, they're a 501c3 local organizing committee supporting the convening and community kind of like aspect of organizing folks around the event. They are not the official FIFA representatives, but they work closely with them in terms of knowing when the actual teams are coming, which would be later this December, by the way, and also any updates they can support in coordinating on their end as a community lead and host committee.
Great. That's it. Any final words? Oh, wait, one more. Who are the LOCs for the fan zones?
Oh, good distinction and question there. Yeah, so the LOC is also they work with the 9 fan zones across the state. And that can also, if someone can help, maybe Shoshana can put the list of those cities. It's on the LOC's website as well.
Great. Okay, should we cut
And
it
for
off?
easy logistics, if people want to know who they are, I think it works out where it's the top 9 most populous cities in the state.
Great.
Mhm.
Awesome. 12:06, not too bad. Any last comments from the panel?
I'll let Dr. Glaze close it. And Shoshana.
Wow. Thanks. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the very typical. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We're looking forward to seeing your proposals. And last call, again, remember Friday is our last call, 12 Pacific time, 12 to 1 on Zoom, to give us any final thoughts or reflections. I am going to discourage folks from asking an overly specific question because we're going to try to be as fair as possible. But you can always shoot your shot and get an answer that's well, that's beyond the scope of this RFP. So hoping to see